The pain of this new reality is slowly setting in for many as it all starting to become all too real for those who reluctantly sat on the sidelines and wanted to live in denial and pretend that these things weren't actually happening. And they're happening. And they're happening to everybody. Hosts Dan Hughes and Carolyn Gracie depart QVC as parent company announces layoffs. Now, it's interesting that the LA Times, Los Angeles Times, presents this story in this way, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But as we can see here, QVC has ended its partnership with longtime program host Dan Hughes and Carolyn Gracie. Hughes and Gracie hosted a handful of segments, including The Great Outdoors with Dan and Sundays with Carolyn and Dan. Most importantly, after a tenure of 33 years, according to Hughes, it has come time for me and QVC to part ways. And this is according to a Facebook post shared by Hughes, also adding, I say so with nothing less than gratitude to those who have supported me and worked with me over the years. After 19 years, I am no longer working at QVC. I have loved every minute of my time there, especially the opportunity to get to know all of you. And this is what Gracie said in her separate post, adding that you have been the most cherished part of my job as a QVC host and have shared your friendship with me through good times and bad. Bad through challenges and triumphs, folks. So you got Hughes and Gracie sharing this information on their social media, while it says here, as QVC hosts, Hughes and Gracie advertise a plethora of goods, including clothing, patio furniture, to garden decorations. And you got to think about the reason behind why these layoffs are happening and why people are losing their jobs and why these companies are making these cuts. And the goods component, the products, clothing, patio furniture, garden decorations, folks, you know what's going on. The hosts shared their announcement the same day QVC parent company Curate Retail released its 2022 year-end earnings report on Wednesday. 2022 was a challenging year for the company, according to the Curate Retail President and Chief Executive David Rawlinson. And Rawlinson said that Curate has taken action to strengthen the balance sheet, improve execution, and aggressively cut costs. Um, Revenue dropped 18% in Q4 and full year. So this ties into what I was telling you guys before about, the retail market and most importantly, the holiday shopping season, which news reports at the time, mainstream media was trying to pump out this idea that, Black Friday shopping and consumer spending was up, but it wasn't. The only reason that it could have possibly been up was due to the mathematical calculations as a result of inflation and higher prices. But as we see Q4 earnings reports showing an 18% drop in revenue, it wasn't true. These companies are suffering, hemorrhaging. Earlier this week, Curate announced the very difficult decision to eliminate a number of roles, including those that would impact QVC US and HSN, the Home Shopping Network. These impacts affect approximately 400 of our team members across these groups, according to the Curate statement. And these decisions are not easy, but are necessary in realigning how we manage the business and heighten focus on critical priorities. So, I'm going to just tell you guys right now, no matter who you are, no matter where you work, no matter how long you've been there, no matter how great a job you do, when the time comes, they're going to make cuts. They'll do what they have to do to whomever they have to do it to. Nothing else matters. Only thing that will matter is how you're preparing for that day. If that day never comes, then even better. But if it does, you want to be ready for it. You want to be prepared for it. You don't want to get wiped out. It says that in their respective Facebook posts, Hughes and Gracie said they were both looking forward to new ventures. Hughes wrote he'll focus fully on my writing, spend more time with family and friends, and take up projects which have sat on the back burner for way too long. which is good. Sounds like he's in a financial position to be able to execute on that without having to worry about and panic and fear not having an income or a steady, reliable income, which is a plus. Gracie said she has more fun with pets, gardening, RVing, and so much more in store. Both hosts encourage their fan base to stay in contact and to follow them on their non network Facebook profiles, which I'm sure these folks have already monetized. But as we can see here from just another YouTuber sharing this information just 4 days ago, and Antonella M. Nestor, QVC layoffs, and our friends. But I think it's very clear and apparent the sentiment and the emotion and the feelings that the audience, the viewers, the ultimately the consumers had and have, which is QVC is making very bad choices. Now, I can't say this with any extreme certainty. I don't know QVC's inner operations, but I can tell you what I've told you guys before in the past, and that is that the most expensive overhead operating costs for businesses are the people and the employees, and cutting 400 is just the start. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw QVC HSN heading in the direction of more AI automation or even possibly utilizing virtual avatars. But according to The Voice, QVC host Carolyn Gracie, Dan Hughes among 400 laid off by network's parent company. So the question is, did they leave or did they get laid off? Was this a voluntary departure or were they fired, terminated along with others? Um, I don't know if it really matters at the end of the day. I don't necessarily want to sit here and point fingers or point blame or anything like that, but I do want to focus on the impacts because 398 of these employees may not be in the same situation financially as Carolyn Gracie and Dan Hughes, and they need ways of supporting themselves and producing income. Some notes here. QVC is a television shopping channel which is owned by Curate Retail Group, which was founded in 1986 in Pennsylvania. QVC is the nation's largest electronic retailer, selling a wide variety of products which include clothes, jewelry, cosmetics, electronics, houseware, and toys. Folks, all non-essentials, non-necessities, products, categories, niches that the average consumer right now who is struggling with job loss, inflation, and the possible effects of the looming recession are not looking to be spending their money on. Early this month, the company laid off about 400 employees, including longtime QVC host Carolyn Gracie and Adam Hughes, Dan Hughes, which ultimately means that they are more than likely probably going to be laying off even more. This is just the first wave. There's always multiple rounds, multiple waves. And the layoffs come after Q-rate retail revenue declined 14%. Actually, it was 18%, according to the report. These layoffs impact QVC, US, and HSN teams. And folks, Squirrel Tribe and I, we put up a video just yesterday. I want you guys to check it out. Speaking of actually going down the list, it wasn't the definitive list, but it was a top list of all the companies and the layoffs that were occurring 2023 alone that I told you guys were coming. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are preparing. And I want to share with you some important information here that I think is critical, vital at this time. And, Forbes, how to survive a recession without burning through savings and selling off investments, folks. This is going to be quite possibly the most important video that I post today. And the most important part about it is having savings and investments to burn through and sell off, which if you don't, then we need to be having another conversation. So please comment down below and let me know which direction we need to be taking this. But it says that many experts fear that an official recession is right around the corner. With inflation still rising, the Federal Reserve will likely raise interest rates to slow down the economy even further. And if the economy slows down enough, we could easily enter a proper recession. Recession can cause a lot of pain for many folks, from the labor market to the stock market. As stressful as the thought of a recession is, it's impossible that you don't. It's important that you don't panic. Yeah, it's not impossible. Now, this is just part of the economic cycle. I've told you guys this before. We are in the middle of an economic cycle, an economic shift. While the discomfort of a recession will be felt by most of us, there are ways to prepare. And in this article, we'll look at how you can survive a recession so you can feel more confident about your finances as the economy continues to send us all mixed messages. And just to point out, this was released September 18th, 2022. So, not long ago, but, definitely a few months ago where this was already a concern and reason for preparation. I don't think Forbes makes articles like these if this isn't a likely scenario in the very near future, if you see what I'm saying. And how does a recession impact you? Well, folks, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I hope that the recession doesn't impact you in a way that, puts you and your family at risk of being wiped out. And more so, I hope that it puts you in a position so that when we recover from this recession, you're you're in place, poised and prepared to take advantage of the uh, upside and investment opportunities that will be a result. Many people are wondering how a potential recession could impact them personally. A recession is an extreme economic slowdown. Granted, we have different definitions and mixed feelings on what a recession is, depending on who you ask in Washington. But according to Forbes, a recession could lead to a job loss or issues with employment, no bonus, reduced compensation, and so on, all of which we have seen here recently. And since companies have to adjust to a decrease in consumer spending, again, everything that is happening with less money in the economy, there's less demand for luxury items, and people think twice before spending any money beyond their necessities. Case in point, QVC. And the worst case scenario for a recession is that unemployment could drastically increase, which is what the Fed is pushing for. The Fed slows down spending, hiring, and wage gains by raising the cost of borrowing money, quantitative tightening, as well as their push to introduce digital currencies, the CBDC, which, in my opinion, will have a huge impact on their ability to adjust the amount of cash flow within the economy. Now, this means that you could completely lose your income or have financial incentives taken away at work. This isn't encouraging news, but we can't ignore the reality of the situation. The good news is that the economic cycle has not been officially called a recession just yet. Although, even if it wasn't called a recession and it is a recession and it feels like a recession, the pain is still going to be felt nonetheless. Anyway, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Some would argue that it's a stagnant economy and that a recession is approaching. That just means that you have to be prepared for the worst case scenario, as there's no telling how the battle against inflation is going to turn out. Again, folks, the better insulated you are against inflation, the better off your chances of survival are. And I've covered this in a video not too long ago. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up and show you guys. But it was a simple and easy way of me explaining to you how to insulate yourself in times of a recession, and it's right here. Warning: preparing for shutdown. I give you a breakdown in 11 minutes. I give you a breakdown on how to insulate and protect and prepare. And you got to think of inflation as cold winter weather in the frozen Arctic tundra. And for those who don't have a plan, who are not prepared, are going to be entering into this with a t-shirt and shorts on. While those who are planning and have been planning and prepared and are prepared or preparing, Dan Hughes and Carolyn Gracie, folks like them, they've got triple fat goose. They got uh, Canada Goose. They got Patagonia jackets on. They got electric hand warmers. They're ready. Because the ill effects of trying to survive cold temperatures without the proper gear. could be fatal. And that's basically what this insulation of inflate is required for during a heavy time of inflation, which we are experiencing now, while also on the cusp of a recession. So, kind of like pouring salt on the wound, insult to injury. But there's no sense in sugarcoating the impact of a recession because we're all feeling the effects of the rising costs already, from everyday purchases like food to mortgage rates. I agree. We all have seen the rising price of food. Buying food at a restaurant is ridiculous. Going out, we went to Smash Burger yesterday. My kid wanted a Smash Burger. It was $12 for a hamburger and some fries. She didn't even get a drink. It's ridiculous. Um, and the quantity of food is very small. And mortgage rates are up and only going to be higher as the Fed pushes to raise interest rates, and depending on your credit score, which won't allow you the ability to get the prime rate, which is part of the reason why we're not in such a hurry to buy a home right now. We are looking, and then when the time comes, the question will be finance or pay cash. But the rise in mortgage rates it has an impact on the consumer and their spending and the decisions that they make, especially anybody who's gotten into an adjustable rate mortgage, an ARM. Start preparing for a potential job loss, folks. According to Forbes, it has been made clear by representatives at the central bank that from the central bank that rate hikes could lead to economic despair in the form of job loss. We don't want to fearmonger, but even though the labor market has been resilient, it's important to consider the possibility that you could lose your job if you're not in a recession-proof field. Companies will have no choice but to make layoffs if they're not generating enough revenue. I'm actually glad that Forbes worded it this way because people tend to misinterpret and misunderstand the content and the information that I share and bring to you guys on a regular basis on this channel with these videos. And it's not fear mongering. It's just reality. It's the truth. And when Forbes is sitting here telling you that companies will have no choice but to make layoffs if they're not generating enough revenue, this is exactly what I've been telling you guys. And what does this mean? What this means is that you should start doing the following. Work on your resume. If you haven't polished up your resume in a while, this could be time to update it. And speaking of which, I just actually covered that in this video right here. This is finally happening. All these people just got a shocking wake-up call. I highly encourage and urge people to go check out that video because it's specifically about a situation with a resume that you're going to want to know about, especially if you're looking to work on your own resume so that you can stand out and have a possibility of having a parachute, so to speak, if you were to face job loss, so you can deploy it and land safely in your next job, your next career, possibly better than the one you left, maybe. Reach out to your network. This would be the ideal time to start updating your LinkedIn profile and connecting with friends in your network, which, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but I feel like I've said this stuff numerous times before. And that's why I created the network. I mean, I literally called it the network because I felt as though people needed to have the ability to connect with like-minded individuals working towards similar goals at a time of which it is just becoming increasingly more apparent that survival is going to be based on your ability to pivot and have a plan and be prepared and be agile. Go with the flow. It's going to be a fluid situation for a while, folks. Build up your emergency fund. You must have money saved for a rainy day. And if you're still working, you'll want to save as much as you can just in case. An emergency fund is one of the main tools in your financial toolbox. And literally almost every video on my channel goes over making money, saving money, investing money, protecting money, diversity, security, cash flow. Look for new opportunities. If you feel that your company may go through layoffs during this economic downturn, you're going to want to keep your eyes open for other jobs that you could apply for, maybe putting some feelers out, maybe even getting involved in some of these other opportunities, creating multiple diverse income streams, possibly passive income streams, and just being ready so you don't have to get ready. And these are definitely, I tell you guys, much like a lot of other resources that I have available, I would say having multiple streams of income, diverse income streams, passive income streams would definitely fall into the category of I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Learning a new skill. This could be the perfect opportunity to work on learning a new skill or trying to switch careers. And they say that the more you learn, the more you earn. You could use this economic downtime to focus on a new skill that could help you increase your income earning potential. And if you don't have the resources or time to return to school, you could always consider working on an in demand skill like writing or graphic design. Many skills bring in money even when the economy slows down, especially as folks are moving to look to make way more money online. And these businesses are shifting online as they're laying off the physical employees and using OpenAI, ChatGPT, and other technology that's made available to them. Pay attention, folks. I think a lot of folks actually are looking for ways to make more money. And ironically, a lot of them are tied to some government programs, some government subsidies and stimulus programs, and they're afraid to lose that money. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, 9 times out of 10, the amount of money that the government is giving you uh, is very, very minuscule in the grand scheme of things. And I would look to earn more than that and not worry about losing it, because now I'm already doing better tenfold than the government money that I'm getting on a regular basis. That, more than likely it's going to be depleted at some point in time, as we are already seeing uh, heading towards deficits and shortfalls in the Social Security Administration's Social Security fund. Biden has a plan on how he can possibly try to rectify that, but he hasn't actually presented it yet. And mathematically, it technically doesn't work. But it says look for ways to cut costs, which these businesses are doing by laying employees off, shutting locations down, filing bankruptcy. It's been said that necessity is the mother of all inventions. While there's nothing glamorous about going through financial struggles, there are still many creative ways that you can save money to prepare yourself financially. And during a recession, it's imperative that you find ways to cut costs so that you can be prepared for a loss of income. You can start cutting costs by delaying a major purchase or getting into bargain shopping. And you may want to think about shopping one fixed cost from your budget, a streaming service, or any other service that you rarely use. And this is what I told you guys about 5 basic, principles of financial freedom. Make more money, spend less than you make, budget. Well, they're talking about budgets right here, folks. Try to diversify your income. Remember, diversity, security, cash flow. These are all just, yes, I sound like a broken record, but I am only sounding like a broken record to those who have been watching. Anyone who's here for the first time, welcome. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe, please like, and please take advantage of these opportunities while they are available, because you don't want to then try to diversify and secure and create cash flow after you've been impacted by job loss or mass layoffs and terminations. And Forbes says that one of the riskiest things that you can do during a recession is to rely on one source of income if your job isn't in a recession-proof industry. Now, this is your opportunity to try to apply for a side hustle or look into diversifying your income so that you have a few sources to rely on. And I personally tapped into the gig economy this summer by using apps like Rover and Airbnb to bring in some extra money to beef up my savings account. You can apply for part-time work or try something in the gig economy so that you have a few income streams to protect yourself and your family. And folks, if you'd like me to go through that, just drop a comment down below. If there's enough interest, I'll make that video. Don't panic with your investments. While many investors are going to liquidate to have cash, you should think twice before selling off your investments. When you see your investment portfolio going down in value by the day, it's going to be tempting to consider selling everything to liquidate. The problem with this is that you'll likely be selling at a loss. It's also not recommended that you dump your stocks due to fear or temporary uncertainty. And if you believe in the companies or funds you've invested in, you don't want to make rash decisions that will hurt you in the future. All of which I've covered here. Most recently, actually, as I made a video discussing how folks are going to be liquidating and dumping at discounts, unfortunately to their loss, but potentially to the gain of others who are in the position to pick up some of these distressed liquidation sales for cash. Some people who made some poor decisions recently last year, when the year before, when the free money and when the cheap money was floating around, when the dumb money was out there. And now they've got to get rid of some of these things that they can't afford anymore. And don't panic, folks. That's going to be number one. I want to buy on the red days. Remember, I want to buy when things are on sale, and I want to buy at a discount. So, yeah, I would not be doing that. But also, if you're not even invested and you need to or want to learn how to become or begin investing as a beginner, then by all means, feel free to reach out. Free links, 100% free links in the description down below. Now, during times of inflation, stock market dumps occur and people start panic selling. The volatility leads to wild swings when there's fear in the market. Any bit of good news or bad news could lead to immediate reactions, and it's going to be difficult to resist. But if you don't need the money for short-term expenses, you need to do your best not to panic. Forbes says, think back to the stock market fluctuations that happened when the pandemic first began. Many investors panicked and ended up losing out on astronomical gains just a few months later. I've seen it. It was devastating. It's terrible. And then they have FOMO. Should you still invest during a recession? A recession is a normal part of the economic cycle, and it's not a valid excuse for not investing your money. Many industries are recession proof. Consumer staples, remember, food, the future of food, folks, utilities and healthcare, for example, and every industry isn't impacted equally. A recession usually features high inflation and stock market sell-offs, and this means that you're going to want to have a balanced portfolio to protect yourself toward that end. So folks, remember, don't panic and try not to burn through savings and investments. And at the same time, if you don't have in savings and investments to burn through, then again, these are conversations that we need to have. You guys take care, be safe. I'll see you real soon. Bye.